29. Having mastered the asana, one should work on cutting down the gati, movement or speed of in and out breath, slowing down the process of inhalation and exhalation. Then one can regulate the prana or life force. This is pranayama. You may have heard the word pranayama, and normally it is translated as breath control. It is not breath control. Ayam is regulation and prana is the life force. So it is the regulation of the life force. Breathing is just a tool. You are using breath here. Patanjali is very clear. You are using shwas, that is breath in Sanskrit. You are using breath to regulate your life force. And now this life force within you, life force is also without you, outside you. We are like fishes. This analogy is perhaps the closest that I can give you. We are like fishes in the pond. There is water in the pond and there is water inside the fish. Now fish is the most watery creature. We have 70% liquid. Fishes have 90%. Our brain is the only part in our body that is about 90% liquid. So there is life force within you and outside you. And you cannot do without both of them. Right now, if you inhale, you have breath, you have life force inside, okay? And then you stop breathing. After some time, you'll die. After some time, there is a breath inside. There is water inside the fish. Take the fish out of the pond. There is no water outside, the fish will die. Similarly, we cannot do without the prana outside, and we cannot do with the prana without the prana inside. How to regulate this? Right now, what is happening? 30 of us are, I don't know how many, 30, 40 of us are sitting here. And as I inhale and exhale, what is happening actually? My prana is also coming out with the breath. My life force is coming out with the breath. So is yours. So my next breath, when I inhale again, there is part of your life force coming into my system and part of my life force getting into your system. What happens? Can you see the big picture? What happens? You're all gentlemen, good people, gentlewomen, very kind, compassionate. I get a little bit of your compassion. And I'm very stingy, I'm very cruel, I'm a very bad person. Little bit of my bad traits will go inside you also. Very serious thing. This is why we place so much importance on satsang, good company. You don't have to interact with anybody. It's not about energy. It is about your prana, life force. Energy is something else. Energy is very close, but something else still, It's not about even vibes. Nothing to do with your speech, nothing to do with your words. Just being in the company of wrong people, you can have part of his life force. And then there is a conflict going on. Who is stronger? If you are stronger, no problem. It is like being exposed to some kind of viruses or bacteria. If your immune system is good, no problem. Nothing happens to you. But if your immune system is somehow, you cannot ensure that your immune system is at the peak every time. So at the time when your immune system is not very good, any virus can affect you. And so very important to be in a good company. And this is why I keep explaining also. I am very sorry, but some of you, sometime some gurus are coming from outside and they would like to use this hall. I respect everybody, but every school of thought, every school of yoga has its own pattern. We also follow a certain pattern. And this is why you should not do something that is against your pattern. Now we are following a very traditional pattern. That's our pattern there. It's very old ancient symbol that you see there, Sri Yantra. And this is the cosmology. There's a huge explanation on Google actually for Sri Yantra. You'll find out what is it about. So we are following this pattern. And there are many schools of yoga nowadays that is not even following the yogic pattern. By right, they should be following the same pattern. And so, yes, we welcome everybody, but if somebody wants to wants to give classes here, then we are a bit stingy in the sense we are a little bit selective. Having mastered the asana, one should work on cutting down the gati, the movement of your breathing, of your breath. Breath and your mind, it is like a wand. You hold the wand from one pole, the other pole is held. It is very difficult for you, for me, to control the speed, the movement of our mind. There are so many thoughts. Very difficult to control our mind, but it is a lot more easier to control your breath. Once the breathing is under control, the life force is under control, the mind is under control too. How does it work? You cannot empty your mind. If somebody has been telling you can empty your mind, no. Even after my death, the mind is still there, and that will bring me back to this life. So the mind cannot be emptied. The mind is full of memories, expectations, hopes, hallucinations, everything. So you cannot empty it, but you can go beyond it. Or even if you have not been able to do so, which is possible, it just takes 3 months. But even if you cannot go beyond that, then what you can do is you can slow down the movement of your mind. You can reduce the number of thoughts that you have, and that will already make you very peaceful, just by reducing the number of thoughts, the number of feelings. This is what Patanjali is saying. Slow down, inhale and exhale without effort. All these are interrelated. So if you are forcing yourself, hold the breath, no. You have to be very easy, very easy. All these sutras, formulas are interrelated. This is very important. Number 50. The process of cutting the speed or slowing down the breathing is achieved by means of regulating the bahya, external or outgoing breath. This process called rechaka in the yogic language. Abhyantara, internal or incoming breath, that is called puraka. And stamba, holding or suppressing the breath or kumbhaka. That must be done with consideration of desha or place, kala or time, and samkhya or number of rounds. Thus, by abhyas or consistent practice, one can perceive one's breathing becoming longer and subtler. The most important idea is that your breathing should be longer and more subtle. That is the most important idea. Not holding of the breath. Patanjali is very clear. When you are holding your breath, that should be done according to the desha and kala, time and place. If you are doing some pranayama in the Alps, maybe in Switzerland, or you're doing it in some village in Poland or small village in somewhere in Europe, or you're doing it in Himalayas, the environment, the oxygen level, everything is so clean there. Then you can hold your breath. But if you're doing it in Bali, don't. You're doing it in Manhattan, no. No holding of breath. If the gurus in the West have been telling you to hold your breath, they have not read this. And this is thousands of years ago. He already said that this has to be done according to desha, the condition. If you are holding breath, you inhale. Here maybe it's a little bit better, although we do not advocate holding of the breath, unless we are doing it for therapies. Then yes. But for daily, we don't advocate that, because the most important thing is to regulate your life force by slowing down your inhalation and exhalation. And that can be achieved without holding of the breath. 51. Such regulation of life force or pranayama that surpasses or goes beyond the sphere of inhalation and exhalation of breath, as well as the suppressing or holding of it, is referred to as the fourth process. This is another very important feature of pranayama. Once the breathing is slowing down, what happens is, like you're driving a car and you have a U-turn. What happens? What happens? When you have a U-turn, you slow down a bit, right? And there is a moment, maybe you cannot detect it, but there's a moment when actually the car is so slowed down that it's almost still, and then slowly you take a U-turn. So also, when your breathing slows down, naturally, what happens, you reach what is called turiya, the fourth state in our consciousness, when your breathing stops for a while. Naturally, you are not stopping it by yourself. Inhale, exhale, and then you watch, there is a stoppage for a very brief moment, and then you inhale again, exhale. You are not paying attention to it. It is happening very naturally for a very brief time. And that is the state where your mind is transcended. Your mind is transcended. What happens in the moment of orgasm? Why do you enjoy orgasm in your sexual contact with someone? Orgasm is where the mind stops for a very brief time. And because we have not experienced, we have no other experience of the stopping of the mind, and therefore we are looking for sex all the time. We are not looking for actually sex, but for that split of a second where the mind is transcended. So meditation is more powerful than sexual orgasm. (52) By the way, the fourth state that it's referring to is, one is what we call conscious, what the modern psychology call conscious state is not referred to as conscious. It is wakefulness. In the yogic language, we are simply awake right now. We are not conscious as yet. We do a lot of things unconsciously. So we are just awake, but we are not necessarily conscious. And the second state is sleeping. Sleeping but dreaming. There's a dream. So the mind is quite active still. You are at rest, the body is at rest, but the mind is still quite active. And then there are times you are supposed to reach that. Every time we are sleeping, actually what we are in need of is 20 minutes of deep sleep when the mind is not active. There are no dreams. It is a dreamless state. That is a third state. The fourth one is only achieved through meditation and orgasm. So either you make love 24/7 to keep your sanity, or you start meditating.